Hey guys, it's Heidi. Welcome back to my channel. How's it go? All right. Yeah. My friend Brian sent me a clip, and I've got to learn to be able to take these clips and put them in the description below so that people can actually go and see. Right. But this one is about the prodigal son. Now, it's five things you don't hear about when you hear the preaching of the prodigal son. And then we miss the depth what Jesus placed on the prodigal son parable, because the prodigal son parable is much deeper than what the our Western way of thinking when we read it. We miss it. We miss quite a lot of it. Anyway, so there's five things that they say that we don't hear about. Number one, asking for your inheritance while your father is still alive is the highest form of disrespect. Right? Basically, you're saying to your dad, "I wish you were dead." You know. The father didn't condemn his son, but rather gave him what he wanted. Right? That also shows the merciful God. Right? And where God allows us our freedom to make our own choices. Right? It's up to us whether we're going to choose to serve Him or go on our merry way and get in trouble. Yeah. Um, so yeah, and even though the father gave his son, the younger son, what he asked for, even though that it was going to lead him to a path of destruction. He was still very merciful, and he gave to his younger son. Right, that's number one. Number two, the older son is not the hero of the story. Right? Yeah, there's a whole lot of different things about the older son. This thing is a bit weird. Anyway. He was supposed to act as a peacemaker. According to custom, it was his role, the older son role, to stop the younger son from leaving the house, right? To get him to stay home and to stop the family from breaking up. That is the role of the older son in the Middle East. It's his role to see that the younger children stay in line, right? But he does nothing. His silence exposed him. Now, the parable is directed at Pharisees, right? The older son is actually the Pharisees. And why? Because Jesus told this parable to them. He didn't tell the parable to other people. He told the parable to the Pharisees. Yeah? And his message was very clear. So he says, you live in the Father's house, but you are not trying to bring the lost back home. Ouch. You are like the older brother. That's basically what Jesus was telling the Pharisees. He was telling them that you part of the church, you're the leaders of the church. Yet you're not interested in bringing any of the lost back. You'd rather judge them. Yeah. The parable is not really about the prodigal son, or even it's not even about the merciful father. It's about the older brother. The older brother representing the Pharisees representing the leaders of the church today. Okay. They're the ones that are in the house, and they're the ones who are supposed to keep the rules. I just wrote there in brackets, are they keeping the rules? Because we need to remember the leaders of the church are going to be judged. They're actually going to be judged more severely than the rest of us. Um, mm. But they're also human. All right. They refuse to rejoice when a sinner repents and comes back to the Father. Now, this parable is not a challenge to the rebels, but rather to the religious people. All right. Now, there's a lot of church leaders out there that, they'll preach the the gospel, they'll preach the message, they'll give the message, but that's as far as it goes. There's no proper shepherding or anything like that. And um, yeah, it's like you're not really too worried. It's like I was involved in a church once many years ago, Colin and I. So this is more than, it's probably about 15, 18 years ago. Church that we attended. We were out of that church for probably nearly 2 years before the preacher realized we weren't there. So yeah, don't wait 2 years before you decide, hey, I haven't seen that one. Where is he or where is she? You know, if you don't see them for a while, then contact them and find out if they're okay. Right? Yeah. It also happened to me. I was sick and people thought I was away. Meantime, I was laying at home sick. So, anyway. Yeah, chasing squirrels, Heidi, chasing squirrels. Yeah, talking about the preachers. Now, my pastor Chris, he is very good. God has put a call on his life for the lost. God has given him a heart for the lost, and he truly, truly has a passion to see the lost saved, to bring them back home, to bring them back into the fold, bring them back into God's kingdom. Right? Pastor Chris has that calling on his life, and he takes every single opportunity that God gives him. He takes that opportunity to bring the gospel to the people and to speak to them about Jesus. Doesn't matter where he is, whether he's in the prison or whether he's on the street or whether he's standing in the supermarket or wherever. Right? And I've been on quite a few mission trips with him and with Brachi, and I've watched the two of them. The way that they interact with people. And I can see the genuineness, the genuine love for Father God, but also the love for the lost souls. Brachi's got a wonderful way of bringing the message across to people. Right? Yeah, it's in story form. She will tell a story, normally a kiddie story, but I mean, all the adults pay attention. Well, I do. I watched it very carefully to see what, and I have learned a lot from those two. So I can just say thank you, Pastor Chris, and thank you, Brachi, for teaching me these things without, I don't think you actually realized that you were teaching me these things. Anyway. So yeah, so let's look, there are preachers out there, there are church leaders and what have you that do have a genuine love for the lost, to bring them in. Right? Not everybody's like the Pharisees. Okay. Okay. So basically, what this parable is asking the Pharisees, the religious people, it asks, where is your heart? Right? Is your heart for the lost people, or is your heart for your own personal gain, or your title, or because some people love titles and they love these long flowy robes and all the get up that they wear. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, the father did not just, okay, let's just back up. Number 1, asking for inheritance while the person is still alive is the highest form of disrespect. Number 2, the older son is not the hero of the story. Right? He was supposed to be the peacemaker. So he basically represents the Pharisees. Number 3, the parable is not really about the prodigal son or the merciful father, but rather about the older brother, which represents the Pharisees. Number 4, the father did not just wait for the son to get to him, because the father sat waiting, looking every day out. And when he saw his son in the distance, he runs to his son. Right? Now, this too is important, because in the Middle East, an older man is not supposed to run. They find it disgraceful, or what's it? The father did not just wait for the son to get to him. He runs to meet his son, giving up his own honor. A respectful older man in the Middle East never runs. It is considered shameful. All right? But the excuse me. But the father stands up, lifts up his robe, exposes his ankles, which is also seen as disrespectful. All right? So you're not supposed to show your ankles. And runs towards his son. Why did the father run towards his son? All right? All right, so the father needed to get to his son before the crowd got to his son. Because apparently in the Middle East, if you do something like this, the villagers had the right to stone such a son for, for their shameful behavior. So the father places himself between his son and the punishment. This is also the picture of our Heavenly Father who takes our shame and death upon himself. Right, the main lesson, number 5. The main lesson is not about forgiveness, but about joy. All right? Rejoicing. Many think the parable is about forgive because God has forgiven us. We need to forgive. Yes, that is true. We do need to forgive. But Jesus says something more. Rejoice. We need to rejoice. As the Father rejoices, that's at the end of the parable in Luke chapter 15, verse 32. He tells the Pharisees, if you are truly with God, you will rejoice every time someone returns to him instead of judging them. All right? And yeah, that's okay. That's the end of that guy's message. But I found that rather interesting. So just to recap, right? Asking, number 1, the 5 things. Asking for your inheritance while your dad is still alive is the highest form of disrespect. Basically, you're saying, I wish you were dead. Number 2, the oldest son is not the hero of the story. He was supposed to be the peacemaker, but he represents the Pharisees. Number 3, the parable is not really about the prodigal son or the merciful father. It's about the older brother who represents the Pharisees. Number 4, the father did not just wait for the son to get to him, but he ran to his son in order to get himself between his son and the crowd. And so between his son and the punishment. So he didn't want the punishment to come to his son. And number 5, the main lesson is not about forgiveness, but about joy. Where Jesus says we need to rejoice as the father rejoices for his lost son that came home. And he tells the Pharisees, if you are truly with God, you will rejoice every time someone comes home, every time someone returns to the Father. Instead of judging him. So no, Jesus was rather hard with the Pharisees, and there's some scriptures that have come up, and I've been asking questions. I'm saying, Lord, what is it? And he's given me some scriptures, and I'm thinking, Lord, you want me to do that? I feel a little bit like Moses. Oh, this reminded me as a kid. Somebody would ask me something, and I don't know the answer to this. And I said, ask me, I'm Moses. So I don't know where that comes from. And now, the scriptures and the answers he's giving me to my questions is pretty much, anyway, that's a story for another day. Anyway, guys, lots and lots of love. Bye.